Hello, and welcome back. This time we're going to be talking about cooking with brain fog. Some of the things that we've talked about in previous sessions, like planning meals and making shopping lists and preparing things in advance, can really help with brain fog. And the reason for that is it takes some pressure off your brain. We know that having support systems and taking some pressure off your thought processes allows your brain to relax a little bit and allows it to focus more, think more clearly. So being confident that you have the right ingredients, knowing what it is that you want to cook, can help you just to focus on actually doing that task of cooking. So often people report to us that they've burnt food or, put one part of the dinner on and forgotten that they need to do another part. So we're going to try and think about some strategies that you can use to avoid that. Using support systems, external prompts is incredibly helpful with this kind of thing because, it takes that pressure off your mind to remember what you're doing and keep checking the time. So using timers takes on a job for you that you can then forget about. You might use just a normal kitchen timer or oven timer. That's fine. Or you might be able to use a smart system like Alexa or Google to set reminders for you. And sometimes they can also tell you what the reminder was for. So if you are particularly struggling with remembering what stage you're at with the cooking, you can set yourself reminders that say, in 10 minutes, remind me to take the chicken out of the oven. Don't feel that you have to challenge yourself or make things as hard as you can do all the time, because challenging your brain in this kind of circumstance is much more likely to overstress you and make it more difficult to think clearly and plan. So make sure you use those support systems and make things as simple as possible. Another thing you can do to improve the effectiveness of your meal planning and to reduce more pressure on your brain is to create written instructions that help you to prepare meals. It might be a task that you ask someone to help you with initially to make sure that you're kind of getting all the key parts down. But after it's done, you've got a great resource which is going to support you over and over again. It might be something for very simple things, depending on your level of ability. So it might be even just making a cup of tea or making yourself a sandwich. Just having those steps written down sometimes can really help with that overwhelm that prevents you from getting into the kitchen and giving that a go. So, so sometimes even if you're hungry or thirsty, just the difficulty level and the overwhelm associated with making something or preparing something can prevent you from getting out there and giving it a try. So having a little reminder or a list of instructions just to follow means that you might just make that start. If you're cooking a bit more, then you might make a more complicated recipe meal card. Instead of just following a recipe that you might find online or in a cookery book, you probably want to rewrite it, and I would suggest adding extra instructions in for your particular situation. So an example might be put the chicken, preheat the oven, put the chicken into the oven at 180 degrees, set a timer for 10 minutes, put the vegetables on a baking tray and sit down and rest. When the timer goes off, put the vegetables into the oven, set a timer for 10 minutes, put some water into the medium pan and turn it on to boil. Weigh out 100 grams of pasta. Sit down and rest. When the timer goes off, add the pasta to the boiling water and set a timer for 10 minutes. Sit down and rest. When the timer goes off, turn off the oven and take the chicken and vegetables out. Turn off the hob for the pasta and drain the pasta. So with that example, we've added in extra instructions like sitting down and taking a rest, like setting a timer for a set amount of time, and like turning off the oven and the hob. So adding those extra instructions in draws your attention to those things and make sure that you do them. It makes you less likely to forget those things that you would automatically do normally. If you try this process out with recipes, it also allows you to identify places where you could take a little break. times when you think actually there's nothing I need to do in the kitchen now, everything's just heating up or getting ready. I could just go and sit down and do a little breathing exercise, even lie down potentially, just rest my body a little bit, ready for the next thing. So it gives you that opportunity to think about how you can pace your cooking. Another thing that you can do that helps reduce the effort of cooking, and particularly the cognitive effort, is find recipes that mean you can put everything in to cook at once. So like we said before, you can prep bags of raw vegetables and protein, keep them in the fridge or the freezer until you want to cook them, and then either do something like a slow cooker meal or a tray bake here where all the vegetables and carbs and meat are put on a tray together and cooked in the oven together. Rather than having to keep getting up and down and putting different things on. So trying to find some recipes like that might make for an easier cooking experience on those days when you've already done lots of decision making or lots of thinking. Okay, so that's some ideas that you might want to try out with brain fog. And the next session we're going to be going on to is looking at shopping for food and how we might manage to tackle that a bit more easily. Bye for now.